and they should be back promptly at 5:30. All right, now on News at Prime, for more analysis on Sibiya's testimony, I'm now joined by Dr. Jean Redpath, who is the Africa Criminal Justice Reform Senior Researcher at the Dullah Omar Institute. Doctor, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this afternoon. So we've heard quite a bit from the suspended Deputy Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya, but the morning also just started with a number of disruptions, and this being of certain members of Parliament belonging to certain political parties that have put in those complaints with regards to that July 6th statement that was made by Mkhwanazi. What did you make of that in them being told, being asked to excuse themselves and not to be part of these processes?
Well, I think it's all, most of these interruptions are around delaying process and muddying the waters. So, what the public is left with right now is a great deal of uncertainty about who to believe, uncertainty about the people doing the questioning, uncertainty about everything. And that's a very, very dangerous situation for our country. And I think if you were to have designed something that would leave us extremely vulnerable to being influenced in particular ways, or to completely lose faith in the criminal justice system, this is what we're seeing play out right now.
We've heard a number of claims that Sibiya has made throughout the day. He spoke about Mokgotsi, of course, Mokgotsi, who is in all of these testimonies constantly been coming up as that one person who seems to be the thread that leads to the possible rot within SAPS. And he does admit to knowing him. He even admits to having seen and being with him at the January 8 celebrations in January this year. Is this sort of clearing the picture for South Africans with regards to who really is communicating with who, and where could we start possibly seeing where the infiltration is?
Well, I think it's far too early on those specific issues to draw any clear conclusions. We need to hear the full testimony and the full evidence. But I also think that we have to remember that, this problem with crime intelligence is more than a decade old. It's not recent. Institutions such as the National Council Against Corruption have called for a complete renewal around crime intelligence. So whatever the intricacies, or who said and she said and he said, of who is guilty and who is not guilty, what we can see without a doubt is that the legislative and oversight environment over the police, and in particular crime intelligence, which not only has access to funds in the police, but also the state security agency crime intelligence account, is deeply problematic. And one would hope that what would come out of Parliament is not a finding of who is guilty, who is not guilty, but that we need to change the legislation, we need to reform our police service to serve the citizens of South Africa.
And do you have faith that that is what we possibly could gain out of this process?
Well, it's a possibility. The balance of power in Parliament is, it's on the knife edge of this being possible. And if there is enough political will and enough public support for change, the public can demand change. We can go out and say, this is what we want. And I think if there is enough of that, then it could, in fact, happen. At the moment, it seems that the focus is far too much on the detail of who's the bad guy, who's the good guy. It seems that nobody is entirely clean, that the system is not working, and as such, we need to reform the system.
And does that paint a picture of the system being in crisis?
So I would have said that the system is, and it's not only the police, the whole criminal justice system is in a serious state right now, and we need to face it as a nation, and we need to deal with it. Continuing to pretend that everything is okay is not going to work. The citizens don't believe it. Trust in the police is at its lowest ever. And we really need strong leadership to step up and to make some bold reforms to fix the system. And this includes legislation for the prosecuting authority, for the police. The police legislation dates from 1995, still references the interim constitution and is a mess. It doesn't even talk about crime intelligence. This urgently needs to be fixed, and this is something that is well within the realm of Parliament to do.
And why do you think that we've left such important matters to the very last? I mean, we find ourselves, like we say, tinkering on a possible crisis. We are seeing that reforms need to be done. So why is it that we have left systems and just the cultures within some of these departments to get to a place where we find ourselves now having commissions?
Well, it's about vested interests. You know, the vested interests want things to stay the same. And as soon as you start shaking things up, making changes, there is resistance. I mean, many people are getting huge amounts of overtime and other payments through these various accounts of the police and in the state security account. They are going to resist any change. People in the prosecuting authority are used to the way things are going, that they're not required to meet any targets, etc., etc. They don't want change. Courts are used to only sitting for 3 hours a day. Why would they want to sit for 4.5 hours a day, which is actually the requirement? So, nobody really wants the change, and there's no incentive for the change to happen. The only people who want the change are you and me and the public. And we need to demand it. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
All right, Doctor, thank you so much for your time and giving us this analysis. We certainly will be looking out for more, which will come out not only from the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, but of course, the Madlanga Commission that is running concurrently. Thank you.